this was my identity.
Nobody talks about how freaking hard it is to be a dentist. What most people talk about is how this affects the patient. What nobody talks about is how this affects us. Dentistry is ready for this. Now is really the time. Welcome back to Wellness in Dentistry. Today we're going to be talking about the digital overwhelm when you're a dentist, when you're not a dentist, things like notifications, tasks, and all this chaos that happens in modern life. So I am Dr. Kyle Stanley. I'm a dentist, tech entrepreneur, speaker, and a researcher, and I'm joined by my very good friend, Dr. Martin Mendelson. Martin is a disabled dentist, coach, speaker, and author, and his first book, One Move Makes All the Difference, is available for pre-order now wherever books are sold, and then at the beginning of December, you'll just be able to buy it directly. And together, Martin and I, we've helped thousands of dental professionals pursue wellness in dentistry, and we hope that today is really valuable for you. So, Martin, digital overwhelm. I think when we talk about this in dentistry, we tend to think of the digital overwhelm of digital smile design,
Yeah,
scanners,
yeah,
CBCT, which
yeah,
we can definitely talk about today,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
don't think that was our main intention.
No, no. It's, there's so much hitting us all the time and so many things that we have to deal with. I mean, just yesterday on the Lightside Club private WhatsApp group, there was this long discussion around one of your members got hit with a bot that was giving them one-star reviews that never even went there because it was a bot. And how do you deal with that? And he found a company that could help him, et cetera, et cetera. That's just one minor example of the digital overwhelm that we want to talk about today. But it's just, people have access to information and access to communication 24/7, and some people just don't know how to handle it from a boundary perspective, right? So,
Let's actually talk about what happened to
yeah,
our um, Light Side Club member.
yeah.
He is on the East Coast. He's got a successful practice.
Mhm.
He had a 5-star review of his practice on Google, I think it was, multiple 5 stars.
Yeah.
And he got multiple 1-star reviews that all said the same thing
Yep,
from
exactly.
different accounts
Hmm.
that were, it was their first review they've ever done. And how crazy is that? Like, and when we tried to figure out, we crowdsourced some advice and tried to figure out, is it from a disgruntled patient, from a disgruntled
Hmm.
employee,
Yeah.
uh, a competitor?
Yep.
And I mean, we're vulnerable being
Hmm.
out there in the digital world. Everybody has this digital footprint and this digital persona. And now with review sites,
Yep.
especially, we are vulnerable. I did a post recently that was actually one of the biggest posts that I've done this year on Instagram, which was about what if we could review our patients too, right?
Hmm.
Because it's like it's a one-way review system.
Yeah. 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 Well, not only is it a one-way review system because of HIPAA, it's a handcuffed one-way review system. Because in so many instances, you literally can't say anything or correct them or say, well, actually, no, it's blah, 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 because that would be a problem. So,
Well, what also happens too, I know with Yelp, I don't know if this happens with Google, and I'm sure you've heard this too, but Yelp does this thing where like if you advertise with them,
yeah,
then they're going to help you get rid of
yeah,
negative reviews. They're gonna help you
yeah.
get to the top. And I mean, the whole idea with reviews was that
Hmm.
it's an open market, it's a fair
Yeah.
market, and in general, people will use it accordingly, which I think is still the case.
Hmm.
And good places will do better, and
Hmm.
places that rip people off or provide poor service or are dirty or something won't do as well, right? Which I
Yeah.
think is fair in a market and a fair
Hmm.
market, right?
Hmm.
But then you have these like mafia ways of doing things like Yelp, where it's like, well, if you don't pay,
Yeah.
if you don't pay the mafia, then you don't get any of the advantages. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
oof.
Yeah.
Anyways, so about about the digital overwhelm, I'll tell you one thing for me that made a huge difference. And actually, we talked about this with Lightside Live when we did Lightside Live last time, is notifications.
Yeah.
Notifications are so challenging. And one thing that I learned from you, tell me your line about doing two things, multitasking.
Oh, it's a quote from Steve Uzel. Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. And it's a computer science term, actually. But the human brain cannot multitask. We can switch task. And so people always fight it. They say, oh, well, of course you can do two things at once. And so the example I love to use is texting and driving. Can you text and drive at the same time? Yes, you can. But can you focus on texting and driving at the same time? No, you can't. And the statistics speak for themselves. So this is not about executing the action as it is focusing and doing it well and
Hmm.
doing it to, your greatest aptitude or ability. So there is a difference. There is a
Yeah.
difference. So,
And I think this happens with notifications.
yep.
And these can be notifications within your practice, on
Yep.
your phone, any type of technology that you're using. Is what I have done is turn off all of my notifications
Hmm.
except for, um, and it's so nice now, like what I have iPhone, what iPhone allows you to do is you can make it specific that these are the people that will interrupt you.
Yeah.
So I have it for phone calls and texts only from people that I choose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have it for my wife,
Hmm.
my brothers, and my parents.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
And so, yes, if my dad calls me, it's going to interrupt me. If my
Hmm.
wife calls me, it's going to interrupt me. But if one of my business partners calls me, I'm not
Hmm.
going to.
Yeah.
Now,
Exactly.
he or she can text me, and I still won't get a
Yeah.
notification,
Yeah.
but I will see that, oh, I have
Hmm.
a text
Hmm.
when I look at my phone. So it's like instead of being interrupted to look at my phone, I will get to it as I'm already looking at my phone.
And I have to tell you, I mean, granted, we have a lot of business interests together,
Yep,
but you're actually really good at getting back to me, and I know that it isn't constantly pinging you. So,
yep,
for anybody that's sitting here going, well, how the heck am I supposed to do that? See Exhibit A.
yeah.
Uh, and you're an efficient person to begin with relative to your workflows anyway. But that being said, I think it's just a good example, right?
And like an easy way of starting is having no notifications on social media.
Yeah, yeah,
So, listen, a huge part of my business is on social media.
yeah.
Okay. It's where I meet a lot of people. It's where I get
Mm-hmm.
a lot of invitations for speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about my courses, I talk about my
Hmm.
companies, and I do not have Instagram notifications.
Yeah,
I don't have email notifications.
yeah. Those I can't stand. I turn that off.
So it really is so distracting. It's funny, I had this example today where I had to have this conversation with my wife. And it's funny, I think you'll like this too, Martin, because Martin doesn't know this story. I had my door open, which usually it's closed and locked
Hmm.
because I have little kids.
Yeah.
It was open, and my daughter got up from a nap, and my wife was kind of dancing with her and brought her in and was like, oh, wanted me to look at something. And I was in the middle of something that if I got distracted from, having to come back and get into that zone would take me twice as long.
Yep.
And so she was kind of like, oh, well, I guess daddy doesn't want us here. Okay, we know when we're not wanted, and was kind of joking around and left. And I came and talked to her after that, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't always just pull away because
Yeah.
then it'll take me longer to get back. And she had a great response. She said, well, then you should keep your door closed, and then we'll
Bingo.
know. And it was like she was kind of a notification coming
Hmm.
in to interrupt me.
Hmm.
I feel like I was good about not letting it interrupt me, but I could have set that boundary and not allowed
Yeah.
the notification into the room, right?
Correct.
It was like
Yeah.
she was like a physical personification of a
Yep.
notification, right?
Yep.
That wasn't important to me at the time.
Yep. And and here's something else I'll say, which is this. Don't think for a second that when you're treating a patient, they don't hear your iWatch go off.
So true.
Like, don't
Mhm.
kid yourself, folks. You know?
So true. And the watch, I've seen people work on patients checking their
Yeah.
messages
Yeah.
while they're working on patients.
Yeah.
And the reason why Martin and I are talking about this, guys, is because when you are present, you are powerful.
Hmm.
When you're present, you're not going to be depressed because
Hmm.
that's thinking about the past.
Yeah.
When you're present, you're not going to be anxious because that's thinking about the future.
Hmm.
And anything that has these notifications that are unneeded are bringing you out of your presence and bringing you out of your power.
Not only
And
that, but this is even more interesting from, the angle of my work that's in my keynotes and also in my book coming out. Let's say you're working on a patient and a text comes in and it's something negative or something disappointing. I talk about the research in my book and my keynotes relative to when your brain is in a negatively primed state, you don't uh, you don't think as clearly, you don't literally see as clearly, you do not process information as effectively, and so you're literally doing yourself and your patient a disservice by allowing that in that can literally affect your brain whether you like it or not. Just because you may not be aware of or don't agree with the fact doesn't make it not true.
yeah, that
So,
I learned this research from Martin, and it's really interesting, this
yeah,
idea of priming positive or negative and how it, like you said, makes you see better or worse. Like
yeah,
it changes your physicality, it changes your physiology, let's say.
yeah, yeah,
And I think a lot of dentists, because we're such scientists, we don't think that our thoughts can lead to our emotions, to our actions, or
yeah,
manifest our results, as I
yeah.
quote your team framework. But it can, and it
Hmm.
makes a huge difference. And one of the areas that I learned this was from one of my coaches. So one of my coaches that he was kind of a speaking coach for me, a
Hmm.
business coach, but really a speaking coach too. One thing he said is when you're doing a live event, so this could be an evening lecture, this could be a full day course. He said that day leading up to that event, you don't look at your email
Mm.
and you tell your team member, if you have a team in this case, don't bring me any problems.
Yeah,
It can wait till tomorrow. Now, of course,
yeah.
if someone's bleeding and they're going to the hospital, tell me. But just like in dentistry, I like to say if it's not an emergency, you can wait until it's your admin time of the day.
Yeah.
And so I've started to do that, which is like if I'm doing, let's say, an evening um, webinar and I've got 100 people coming on
Hmm.
that day, I'm not looking at my email.
Yep.
Because I may get, like you said, a bad review. Someone's mad at me that I didn't return their call on accident, or, a patient is
Hmm.
whatever. And that can impact my performance.
Yeah,
So it's not
absolutely.
only impacting you from bringing you away from your presence, but negatively priming you. I think it's a really, really good point.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember where I had heard this, but even it was one of the first times I ever heard about this type of research where, even the joke about, you're about to go do something and somebody you respect says, don't F it up, they're joking.
Mm.
Even that negative plant can affect your ability, your psyche, your performance, etc. And it's not fluff. There's a lot of research behind this stuff. So,
One thing my dad talked about in our last Lightside Live, my dad came to our course.
mhm,
He's a dentist, by the way, for those that don't know. He practiced for 46 years. And he always said, so he worked in the time of physical charts, right?
mhm,
So
mhm.
even until his
Oh
retirement,
yeah,
they had
this
physical
is good.
charts.
Yeah, yeah.
And his system was that the before they left, his front office team member usually put his schedule for the next day on his desk. And what he started to tell her is, I don't want to know
Yep,
who's on the schedule tomorrow.
yep.
Because when he goes home, he wants to be at home. He just wants to
Yeah.
be Paul then. He doesn't want to be Dr. Stanley.
Mm-hmm.
And he
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to think about that denture patient that's back for their ninth adjustment, or that lady who's always late, or that, guy that says rude things or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he made that boundary, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny, it's like we're talking about digital overwhelm, but that's just like an analog version of digital
Yeah.
overwhelm. Before it was digital, now it would be digital, right?
Oh, it's even worse because you can look at it anywhere, anytime,
Well,
right?
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and devil's advocate, or sorry, I could see people sitting there going, well, I need to look at it because, sometimes my team doesn't schedule properly. Well, it's like, okay, well, whose ultimate responsibility is that?
Yeah,
Now, if you're
that
an
that's hard to
associate,
do reactively,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Now, if you're an associate, that might be a bit of a different story. But I guess my whole point to bringing this up is, well, that's a training issue. That's an expectations and boundary issue that can't be solved overnight anyway. And because it's so reactive, if you're looking at it the night before, what cost are you bearing by worrying about it all night when you can't even do anything about it versus dealing with it in the morning, which would theoretically be the first time you could deal with it or have your team deal with it anyway. So thinking of it from that perspective, I kind of wanted to lay that out there. But
Yeah, it reminds me of one of my big learnings in personal growth, which is focus on what you can control, not
hmm
what you can't control.
yeah.
So instead of thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many things I have to think about, and I've got my practice notifications, and I've got my personal email, and
Mhm.
I've got my, this implant rep is trying to call me or text me to
Yep.
have lunch and this and that. Well, what can you control in that? You can
hmm
control, in this case, your notifications,
Yeah.
right? Because you have a systems area in your phone
Mhm.
where you can control who can contact you.
Yeah. Totally.
And I think part of doing that, it's kind of like, you know how when we talk about dismissing patients or using the complication compliance method or something like this, you have to have the mindset shift that not every patient is right for your practice.
hmm hmm
People will have a very hard time dismissing patients if they don't have that first mindset shift, which is
Oh yeah.
there will be people in my practice that don't fit my specific patient base. Right?
Absolutely.
And it's similar with digital overwhelm.
Yes.
You have to understand that there's going to be people that have to wait 3 hours to talk to me.
hmm
I'm not going to call them in between patients.
Exactly.
I'm not going to text them in between patients. I'm
hmm
not going to email them in between patients. And so you have to have that mindset shift that where you are, your presence is more important than how other people feel.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like the mindset shift around I want people to like me or I don't want to do things to have people not like me. And it's
I
like,
think
wait a
that's where it
minute.
comes from. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, hold up. I don't even like everybody. So why is this a double standard? If it's okay for you to say, you know what, I don't really like that person, why is it equally not, is that saying it right? Why is it equally not okay to then flip that around and say, you know what, it's okay that they don't like me because I don't like everybody else. I mean, I know it sounds trite, but truly, when you accept that, it can really change your perspective on things. I know I finally made that shift because I was very much a people pleaser for many years. And I finally just took a step back and literally said to myself, no joke, I don't even like everybody. Why should I expect everyone to like me? It's okay. Silly example, but nonetheless powerful, in my opinion.
I remember recently I was talking to a friend and he said to me, yeah, this guy texts me like at midnight
hmm
and it woke me up. And I said, whose fault is that?
Yeah.
And it's going back to what I was talking about having the mindset shift.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is when I turned off notifications, I think actually where it started for me was turning off notifications on WhatsApp because I'm
Mm,
on big groups on WhatsApp. Like I'm on some with like 200 dentists from
mm,
around the world. I mean, I'm talking Malaysia and
Hmm.
Australia and Belgium and South Africa and Brazil and Canada, literally like every time zone you can think of. And it's just kind of constantly going.
Hmm.
And I remember at one point it woke me up at 3 in the morning or something when someone is in Europe, right?
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like, oh, I need to turn these notifications off. And then what's funny is once I have those notifications off, I don't feel bad about texting any of my friends around the world at any amount of time because
yeah,
I think they should have it off too.
yeah.
So I will text somebody at 4 a.m. if I'm in a random place
Hmm.
or, whatever time it may be, because I've made that mindset shift that I'm not expecting them to get back to me either.
Yeah.
It's like this is the whole idea of asynchronous communication.
Hmm.
Is
Hmm.
that we don't have to be like what Martin and I are doing right now, synchronous communication, where we're, let's say, at the same place, digitally
Right,
at least, at the
right,
same time,
right.
is I send you when I have 5 minutes, and then you
Hmm.
send me when you have 5 minutes.
Yep.
And it's funny that I don't expect people to get back to me immediately because I know that they're going to do their life and get back to me when they have the time.
Totally. Yeah. And it's very freeing to be that way. And I also think if you don't know where to start, let's use you as an example. Pick the one notification that's the biggest offender. So in your example, it was the WhatsApp group from all over the world. Maybe for you, it's Facebook or Instagram or X or Threads or whatever it is. Pick the one that's the biggest offender and start from there. Nobody's saying you have to turn everything off, but what we are saying is if you feel burdened by them, then what are you going to do about it? And a journey of 1,000 miles always starts with a single step. So what's your single step? One move makes all the difference. What a great book
I've
title.
heard a book
Uh,
called that before. I can't, it's got a great author. I can't think of his name, but
yeah.
anyways.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. So we have turning off notifications.
Hmm.
You can even think about like your team members as physical personification of these digital notifications.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute. We did talk about this a couple of episodes ago. I have one of my clients who went on vacation and gave one of his team members a new responsibility for like social media and stuff. And my client was lamenting that he was bothered on vacation by this individual, and did say he understood that this individual was just trying to do a good job. So he did understand that. But he also exhibited a lot of frustration. And I looked at him and I said, whose fault is that? Because he didn't set the right expectation. Then, therefore, he didn't uphold the boundary because they're different. And so, if your team is texting you night and day, I'm going to look at you in the face with love and smile and say, whose fault is that?
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
It's going back to control what you can control.
Yeah.
So it's like we need to if you can control it, then you should control it.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then you should probably try to forget about it, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
digital overwhelm that happens, it relates back so much. Why it causes us problems is because we get this fragmented thinking.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing that causes a lot of dentist stress by having high volume practices.
Hmm.
So it's I'm injecting this patient in room 2, then I'm going to room 3 and I'm prepping that crown. And then I'm going to hygiene op number 1 and I'm
Hmm.
doing that exam. And then I have to run in and I see a notification from my husband or wife that's
Hmm.
asking me about where do they want to go for dinner tonight. And then as I'm walking up to go to operatory 1 to see a new patient for a consult, my front office stops me and says, "Hey, the sterilizer's broken. Who
Yeah.
then does our maintenance? I can't find it anywhere." And that is literally the day for so many doctors.
Hmm.
And then they complained to Martin and I about this. They said, I just want to be able to like sit down and prep a crown,
Yep.
not get interrupted.
Yep.
And a lot of that you can control. So
Absolutely.
it's like the digital overwhelm is exacerbated by the
Hmm.
analog overwhelm that we have in
Yeah.
our practices as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the digital one is easier to control
Hmm.
because there's usually one central hub for most of us. That's our computer or our phone. And that is a good place to start. And I think when you learn from that, it will allow you to then translate that into team management,
Hmm.
leadership.
Absolutely. And, so many of us make the choice to relieve the short-term pain, which continues the long-term pain. So we feel like it's just easier to answer or respond because they're asking versus upholding a boundary or
Right.
setting an expectation, right? You and I were talking earlier. I now have expanded my firm. I now have a virtual assistant, and I was literally creating a document called an alliance, which is something I do when I work with practices. And as I was creating this alliance from last week, on another window, I was annotating the directions about how to create an alliance so that in the future, my virtual assistant, my coordinator can take that over for me. But it took an investment of time now to save me later.
Yeah, and that's the same way with boundaries. That's the
Yeah.
same way with expectations.
Hmm.
And the thing is when you do it consistently,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of how to make this a little more visual, but it's like, let's say you have 10 notifications that happen per day.
Hmm.
Most of us have like 35,000, but 10 day, 10 a day.
Yeah.
And this first week, you get rid of one.
Yeah.
Now, in a few weeks,
Yeah.
you're going to have half
Yeah.
of the decisions that you have to make, and you'll have half of the decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And then you'll be able to be more present. And when you're
Yeah.
present, your business will grow. You'll be a better
Hmm.
leader. You'll be a
Hmm.
better parent. You'll be a better spouse.
Yeah.
And your relationships grow. And then you
Absolutely.
actually get happier.
Yeah.
And so a lot of why Martin and I are saying this is this helps your mental health.
Oh, 100%. I'll give you another example that I haven't talked about in a long time. Um, and it's a secular example, but it's no less relevant. So I love to cook. And for almost 25 years, I had a pile of recipes that every time I wanted to make a specific dish, I'd have to go through every single one of them because it was completely unorganized. And I felt like I never had the quote time to actually organize them. Well, in January of 2020, I happen to remember, I decided that the short term pain that I was, thinking I was eliminating is causing long term pain. So, what I decided to do was every night I took 10 recipes, put them in a sleeve, and, put them in the appropriate section. And I was like, if I do 10, that's great. If I do 20, because I feel like it, that's fine. But I got to do at least 10. So within a month and a half, I had over 600 recipes categorized and alphabetized. Can you imagine trying to find one recipe in a pile of
Oh God.
disorganization for 25? Like it was driving me crazy. I
Yeah.
finally hit my moment. So the point here is that even with things that feel overwhelming, if we can chunk them, one will always be greater than zero. So whatever progress you make today will serve you tomorrow, and then it becomes a multiplier.
And it
So,
also inspires you too. I know
oh
when
yeah.
I do this, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like with when I was cleaning out my garage, we
Hmm.
moved into a house that we knew the owners and we bought the house from them.
Yeah.
And so after we bought the house, over a few months, they had a full garage. I'm talking floor to ceiling
Oh
packed
wow.
with stuff. And I was helping them clean it out because they allowed me to buy the house and selling things and that kind of stuff.
Hmm. Hmm.
It was overwhelming at first, but then I
Oh yeah.
started saying, okay, I'm going to sell this one chair.
Yeah.
And then I'm selling, oh, there's this couch I'm going to sell.
Yeah.
And then, oh, I looked at this. Oh, this is actually trash. I'm just going to throw this away.
Hmm.
And it took me 6 months,
Yeah. But you
but I
did it.
did it. Right. And what was funny was like when I would have someone on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace come and pick something up, and I cleaned out that little 2 by 2 area,
Mhm.
I felt like I'm really doing this. It was
Absolutely.
like it gave me some hope.
Absolutely.
So, final thoughts on today, Martin.
One is greater than zero, and doing something is better than nothing. I think that's the thought. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, sit down and think about what are the specific things that are overwhelming you. And if you're so overwhelmed that you just say, I don't know where to start, then pick up a piece of paper and a pencil and make a list. And then
Mhm.
take a look and just pick one thing to tackle or eliminate. If we're talking about digital overwhelm, to turn off the notification and just every day continue to work at it so that in 2 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, you will be in a much different place than you are today.
Yeah, I think my advice for today would be before this podcast is over, like pause this podcast and pick one app on your phone
Mm,
that you do not want notifications on.
yeah. I'll
I
give
would,
you one I'm going to do right when we get off of Snapchat. That thing's driving me crazy
oh,
and it
what
annoys
are you,
me.
an 18-year-old kid? You're on Snapchat?
I actually have friends that are like, "Oh, can we snap?" No, I don't like it. But
Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that's
yeah,
funny.
yeah.
That's a good way to end. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on Wellness and Dentistry. Martin and I had fun today, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Take care.